Good morning, everybody. It's Jane Mason here from Virtuous Bread. Welcome to day 4 of Make Your Own Sourdough Starter. Sourdough starter along with me. And if you remember, over the past 3 days, we've been working on a wheat starter and a rye starter. Those are the two starters that I have always had at home. And my wheat starter, my world famous wheat starter, is from 1857 and has a long genealogy that includes lots of different countries. And my rye starter by now is about a decade old only. It's a young'un. But I'm making 2 new ones to teach you all how to make a sourdough starter in case you can't get yeast, or in case you've always wanted to learn how to bake using a sourdough starter. Remember that a sourdough starter is just yeast trapped in a paste of flour and water. So first we're going to start with the rye starter. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay, I'm going to bring the camera over. There it is. It's all frothy. You can see it very airy with little holes in the top where the carbon dioxide has burst through, and there's a bubble or two. So that's looking terrific. And I am going to prop you back up there. And remember that with rye, let me get a spoon, we use 25 grams of flour to make this starter. Let me throw that in there. Oh, that's perfect. And 50 grams of water, twice as much water as flour for the rye starter. Now listen, there are lots and lots of different ways to make starters. This is just my way. It's not right. It's right for me, but it's not the only way. All the bakers around the world will have different methods. Their starters will look different. Some people use a very liquid starter, which my rye starter is a very liquid starter. And some people have a very stiff rye starter, and that's fine. You know, whatever works for them is great. This works for me, and I know it'll work for you too. So let me show you what this looks like now. Okay, it's super bubbly. One second. There you go. See how it's super bubbly? But please don't think that this is viable yet. It really does need to be fed and sit around for 4 whole days, and then, you know, another day after its last feed, before you have a viable starter that will both bake bread and continue to live forever and ever and ever in your fridge. And that is what I'm going to teach you how to do next time that we have one of these videos, which will be tomorrow. It's going to be how to use the starter, how to know when it's ready, and how to store it and use it forever and ever. Leave it to your grandchildren. That'll be great. So here is the rye starter, and I'm going to put that aside. Once again, it's just on my counter at about 20 degrees, or you can pop it in the oven just with the light on. That's a lovely warm temperature for starters to bubble. So those are your couple of options here. Don't try and make any more of a warm environment because you might just kill it off. Okay, so to the wheat starter, if we remember, let me get a spoon. The wheat starter is equal amounts of flour and water. It's a little bit stiffer, and rye absorbs more water than wheat does. So we're doing 50 grams and 50 grams. So I'm going to measure 50 grams into the bowl, one more spoon. There we go. And 50 grams of water. Little bit more water there. I'm going to stir it up now, make sure it's all really well stirred so that the yeast that already exists in the starter, because remember that a starter is just a paste in which yeast is trapped. So stirring it so that there's lots of food for all of those yeast molecules to feed on, fatten up, and get ready for their never-ending life. And you may have noticed that I don't throw anything away, okay? There are lots of recipes that call for you to throw half of the starter away and start again and throw it half away. And I know it works. It works for people. And the reason it doesn't work for me is I find it a little bit of a waste of food. So I've never really gone for that method, but if you like that method and you've read about that method, you can follow that method. Although if you're worried about flour supplies, now may not be the time to be throwing half of your starter away. And the other thing that you don't need is you don't need sugar, you don't need pineapple, you don't need a bit of apple. I'm sure all of those things can help, but you don't need anything other than flour and water to make a starter. So we have our wheat starter, our rye starter, and they're going to sit for another 24 hours or so, and then we're going to learn how to use them. So tomorrow, let's get baking bread, and I look forward to seeing you. Bye for now.